Good afternoon. I'm Mike Thompson. I'm a member of the CMC Board of Trustees and the immediate past chairman of the program committee, which only means that I cannot take any credit whatsoever for this great program here today. But welcome to this special Tuesday forum of the Columbus Metropolitan Club. It's great to see so many folks out here to learn more about such an important issue. While you're getting your chairs situated, let me promote ahead to next week's forum, Lee Fisher, the former Lieutenant Governor, now CEO of CEOs for Cities, a national movement keeping America globally competitive by strengthening our cities, will be here. So please welcome Lee Fisher back next week and help us turn out a great crowd for what should be another interesting and important discussion. Your forum flyer, which you have at your table, includes a list of everyone who is attending today's forum, both members and guests. Some people circle the names of the people at their table to remember them. I always use that tool when my wife's not around. If you are listed as a guest, we invite you to join the other side of that page and become a member of the CMC. And check the CMC Facebook page, a very popular page for the candid shots of folks who are here today. Don't forget to tag your friends when you go there. All of us, members and guests, benefit from the many companies who support CMC, and they are listed on the back of your forum flyer. If your company, or if you know of a company who would like to explore the benefits of becoming a sponsor of CMC, please contact the staff. And to find out more about membership, sponsorship, and upcoming events, of course, check out our website, columbusmetroclub.org. Now, today's forum is brought to you with support from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation and the Hannah News Service, represented here today by Stephen Marks. So thanks to them. Thank you for those sponsors. Also in your forum flyer is the detailed information about our speakers, so I will not provide long introductions here. We ask you to please hold your applause until everyone has been introduced. Speaking on behalf of the Columbus School Levy are Stephanie Hightower and Eric Fingerhut. Speaking against the school levy are Sam Gresham and Terry Boyd. And serving as our host moderator today is a familiar face, recently retired from WSYX, but still one of Columbus's favorite journalists. Please welcome Carol Luper. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike and Andy. Thanks to all of you for being here. I have to tell you our formal rules today, and I'm going to read them because there are rules. As the moderator, I'm in charge. Each side will have 2 to 3 minutes to provide opening comments and 2 to 3 minutes for closing comments. That's 2 to 3 minutes per side, not 2 to 3 minutes per speaker. We had a coin toss earlier, and it landed on the ground, and the coaches came over, and the captain, well, anyway, it was the yes side that won the coin toss. They will go first for opening comments and last for closing comments. During the program time, I will ask the questions. Each side will have an opportunity to respond, and I will permit rebuttals as they are needed. When I say next question or time is up, I hope you will move on to the next question, topic, or rebuttal. And this was written for me. I didn't write this. You will courteously stop talking. As you know, audience questions today will be submitted for selection by nonpartisan members of the Columbus Metropolitan Club's Program Committee. Volunteers will circulate around the room to get your questions to submit to the panel. In your program, there is a piece of paper, and there are some pens on the table. You may need to use your own. Please write your question, submit it, and you have to put your name, because if your question is chosen by our impartial panel, you will have to come up to the microphone and ask it. Now, let's get started. First question. And they have chosen who is going to speak for each side. We didn't have anything to do with that. This levy is said to transform Columbus City schools. What will the levy do, and why is it necessary?
So is this where we start our opening statements, Ms. Carol?
Let's do your opening statements now.
Okay. All right. So, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. representing of the levy. And I just want to make it clear, especially to the board members, that I have no intentions of running again for a seat on the Columbus City School Board. I am here because I love this community, because I love the education reform efforts that we all collectively have decided this is what we want to do for our community. And I just feel like this is something that I have a responsibility to do for this community. So as city leaders, all of us are responsible for our community's future. If we care about the health of our city, then we must care and prioritize the needs of our children. The Columbus Urban League is Columbus's oldest and largest civil rights organization dedicated to economic development, empowerment, and jobs for African Americans and underserved communities. The Columbus Urban League, we provide direct services in the areas of jobs, employment, housing, health, but more important, education. And we believe that because it's important for us to improve student achievement for underserved students, we must have access to resources that support the necessary needs for our children to succeed. The reform efforts, we believe, will help improve outcomes for underserved students by building capacity for parents, teachers, and the community to provide options for all children to have high-quality education. And so that is why the Columbus Urban League strongly endorses issues 50 and 51, why we strongly endorse the education plan, and we hope that others will also believe in the work that has been done and collectively come together to help our children's future.
Thank you. Opening statement?
Thank you. I have to take a prerogative since I'm a newlywed. I'd like to introduce you to my new wife, Miss Sandra Moody Gresham. I would be wrong if I did not do that. And in trouble. For me, this is an uncomfortable position. For more than 40 years, I have supported, worked for, been involved with, and planned levies for the Columbus Public Schools. All of my kids have graduated and attended Columbus Public Schools. All of my grandkids now attend public schools. So I've had skin in the game, and I will have skin in the game in the future. I think the polls that have come out have said it succinctly. We are a house divided, and we are a house divided because of trust. It's an issue of trust and how the levy was put together as a genesis of a process. There are people in the community who believe it was a result of a process of intimidation and coercion of board members to accept the program. There are people in the community who believe that the legislation is the final issue. It was forced through a legislative process, and that the charter schools that are a part of this package had to be changed legislation. And then finally, if you look at who put all the money on the table, people in my community get a little nervous about whose levy this is and what this levy will do. I think there's a fundamental premise in the levy that's wrong. Public schools in Columbus are not broken. They are not failing or declining. The diagnosis is wrong, and the solution is wrong. Our public schools are in trouble because of concentrated poverty and segregation. Concentrated poverty and segregation. Public education as such is not broken. Public education is in crisis as far as our society is, and only as far as the new narrative of crisis destabilizes that community. Columbus Public Schools are the best of the urban schools. I have the data here. Columbus Public Schools have outstanding programs that are internationally and nationally known. The approach that we are taking here does not meet the needs of the students in Columbus Public Schools.
I need to stop you. Thank you. First question, specifically, we'll go to the yes side. What specifically will this levy do, and why is it necessary?
Well, thank you so much, and it's a great pleasure to be back at this august forum to discuss this issue. And let's start right where Sam left off, which is that there is a fundamental disagreement here about the state of our schools and therefore the urgency of action. The mayor and the council president earlier this year commissioned a group of civic leaders that were the most broadly representative group in this community we could possibly have. Civic leaders, business leaders, union leaders, teachers, folks from all segments of our community. And we looked at the facts. We looked at the facts here in Columbus, and what we found is that, in fact, too many of our schools are failing. I know, Sam says this is an uncomfortable place to be. So let's make ourselves uncomfortable for a moment, because it's fun to be able to stand up and say there's nothing wrong with the schools aren't broken. But the fact is that out of 120 schools in the city of Columbus, 60 of them are failing on the state report card. Fully 30,000 children in failing schools. And that's what compelled the commission to come together. Again, labor, management, Republicans, Democrats, civic leaders, all together to say we have to do something. We cannot abide by this situation. So we then looked around the country. And once again, with all due respect to Sam, he's wrong, because we found urban situations very similar to Columbus, where the schools are succeeding, where poverty is not an excuse, where we don't say that because there are challenges that we know about in the lives of our families and the lives of our children, that our children can't succeed. We see places where they are determined to make their children success and where they are succeeding. And so the report of the Columbus Education Commission, which was adopted unanimously by this diverse group of the community in an open process, Sam. It's all on the internet. I'm perfectly happy to watch the meetings, watch the discussions, and decide whether you agree with Sam that it was a closed process or whether you agree with me that it was an open process. It's open by definition because it's all out in the open. But we saw that there are solutions that are working. We brought those best solutions to bear, and we brought the community together behind a plan that addresses the challenges that our children face from preschool all the way up to when they are ready for college. That's what's in issues 50 and 51. It's a balanced, aggressive plan to move our community forward, and it will make a profound difference in the future of this community.
Do you wish to respond, or would you like a next question?
Yes, I'll respond. Your question was, what exactly will this plan do?
I did ask for specifics.
Right.
Yes.
And Eric, can I give you specifics? Because the plan gives no specifics. The plan is to plan. And for the life of me, I can't understand how smart business leaders would assume that this community would accept a plan that really provides no pathway for reform. There's not a bank that exists that would give anyone money if they came in and said, hey, I got an idea. You need to talk about how you intend to achieve these ideas. These are inspirational ideas, but they have no meat, if you will, as far as the blueprint to achieve the initiatives that they talked about. And I'm not against these ideas and these recommendations and these suggestions. I just don't want us to make the same mistake that we've made levy after levy after levy by coming up with ideas, and I've been a part of that problem, coming up with ideas without specific tactics on how to achieve them. I'm guilty of being a part of it, and I don't want to see it happen again. That's why I'm saying let's slow down. Let's put some real tactics to this plan and make it a real plan that we'll have confidence in and this whole community can then get behind. If I may, there was a dispatch article that was written on June 1st, 2012. The story went something like this. by an 8-2 vote of the district's levy committee, it was agreed that with the district being solvent until the end of the fiscal year 2014, and that's before our treasurer found some money, there was no need to rush and put a levy on the ballot. Alex Fisher stated that the time could be better spent to come up with transformational change. Jean Harris stated her goal was to put the levy on the ballot and talk about such change after the levy. Fisher said that puts the cart before the horse. I suggest to you, let's not put the cart before the horse again. Let's come up with real reform by putting some operational plans to these inspirational goals and move forward.
My next question, one of the things that is in the plan is pre-kindergarten for many of the young kids in the community. Will you talk about the pre-kindergarten program, whether it's needed, whether that part of the levy appeals?
You want me to
You choose.
I think it's important that pre-preparation for school and pre-kindergarten specifically is put into place. I am not sure if there are sufficient resources allocated through this process to create the type of pre-kindergarten that we want and need. I think it's an essential part of the educational process, but I'm not sure. This is one of the things that bothers me. We add these emotional things, but when I look in the package, how many kids are we going to do in pre-kindergarten? What are the matrix associated? What are we looking for in the way of progress? Who are those people? How do we get them through a process? I looked at the plan. It has platitudes and inspirational language, but it doesn't give me any matrix. It doesn't give me any tactics. It doesn't give me any strategies. It talks in generalities. I need more before I can support this plan.
Will you talk about pre-K?
Sure, absolutely. First, let me begin by saying I really appreciate both Sam's candor and Dr. Boyd's candor. I think this will be a very useful conversation because Dr. Boyd acknowledging that he's been part of situations in the past, levies before the plan, and quoting Mr. Fisher, who said we should put the plan together before we go to the ballot, is exactly what we did. The Columbus Education Commission plan, which I hold in my hand, which has all of the details that are being asked for at this table and which are available on the website, futurereadycolumbus.org, discussed, and you can also watch the hearings and hear the experts that put all of the specifics of the strategy together. That's why the community came together behind this levy, because we did the work of putting the specific plan together. One key element, which disproves the point that there's no specifics, is the specific recommendations of this community around early childhood education and its importance to the success of the children. On that, let Stephanie add details.
Sure, and I would say to both Sam and to Terry, I don't know if 8.5 million is enough for early childhood education. In my book and definition, based upon what we do in the community, that is a significant amount of money. Being able to dedicate one meal specifically towards early childhood education, which we all know we have to get our kids to start ready before they can even begin in school. We know how many of our urban children in particular are not ready. So 8.5 million is a lot of money that is being dedicated or will be dedicated. And I will, again, reiterate what Eric has said. When you look at what has been done through kidsohio.org and other organizations right now, all of the plan is specific. Are we going to be able to put down those metrics and those specifics? Absolutely not. That's not what this committee was set up to do. That's why you have professional educators and administrators. Hopefully Dr. Good and his team will be able to, based upon the blueprint that we put into place, they will then be able to come up with the strategies and put together the metrics that are going to be needed. But that's not what this committee was there to do. So yes, there is a plan. And I think that those of us who have been in the community, that have been engaged in this issue, you know that there's a plan. And this is the most comprehensive plan that we've ever had before. And let me just say before closing, you know what? I would have paid millions of dollars if I had had it when I was the school board president, to be able to have the collective groups of people that have come together now, at this time, I begged for the business community, I begged for the non-education community, I begged for the human services community to come and be a part of what we were trying to do in Columbus Public Schools. And now all of the stars are aligned. Everybody is on the same page. I mean, this is unprecedented. This is a wonderful opportunity that I wished for 7 years ago when I was the school board president. Why are we not taking advantage of having everybody collectively on the same page?
Thank you. And you wanted to respond.
I did, and I agree. Stephanie did beg for this type of alignment. I stood by her as she begged for this type of an alignment. But one of the things we didn't beg for, and one of the things we didn't insist on, was the tactical plans on how to reach the initiatives. We come up with initiatives time after time after time. Now, when we talk about early childhood, that plan in Mr. Fingerhut's hand, Dr. Fingerhut's hand, talked about 2/3 of our kindergartens are not prepared. Well, according to the Ohio Board of Education, there's what is called the KRAL Children's Score, and it's 3 bands. And one band talks about children who are not ready for kindergarten, and they identify only 34% of our children were not ready for kindergarten. Now, that's a far cry from 2/3 of our children. The other 2 bands talk about children that are ready for kindergarten who exceed the standards for kindergarten. When you talk about the money, $8.5 million is an awful lot of money to be granted for preschool. But as they have backpedaled a couple weeks ago, they realize now that even that money cannot fully pay for this inspirational goal that they have. What I'm suggesting again is that we take a step back, and if we're really concerned about real reform, then let's talk to, the members of the commission was absent of those who are on the battle line day after day, and that's our school teachers. It was absent of a lot of people who are invested in the reform of education. There were, as I understand, 2 former presidents of the board. It's interesting that I wasn't invited to be on that panel, that commission. But the key point that I'm trying to make today is that this is nothing new. Early childhood education is not new. We've talked about it in the past. Other initiatives that are in this plan are not new. We've talked about it in the past. And the same mistake is being made now that we've made in the past. We did not create a path to get there.
One more response, and then we have to go on.
Just very quickly, I'm really, I don't know whether to be saddened or astonished by what I'm hearing. This community has known that early childhood education is critical to the success of children for years. Dr. Boyd says, we've talked about it in the past. That's exactly right. We've talked about it. And now we're proposing to do something about it, to put $8.5 million forward that will then be coupled with funds that the city of Columbus says it will put forward, and the private sector says that it will put forward, so that we can reach those children with the quality preschool education they need. We're done talking. Now's the time to act. If Dr. Boyd's right and there are fewer children than the commission said that are in need of that high-quality early childhood education, then terrific. Then the money will go even farther to reach the children that are needed. Slow down? Stop? Keep talking? No, thank you. Let's act.
Let's go to another question. We'll start with this side. How will the tax dollars be shared with charter schools, and why?
Let me just start first, Eric, and just say, I would like to respond to an earlier statement that Sam made, basically saying that our schools are okay, that we have fine schools. Yes, we do have programs in Columbus City Schools that are doing a great job. I never want to diminish the work of those teachers and those administrators that are doing a great job. But I had an opportunity last week with some of my Urban League colleagues from Cleveland and Cincinnati to meet with Superintendent Dr. Ross, our state superintendent, who specifically looked at me 3 times in the meeting and said, Columbus is the worst district in the state. That was embarrassing for me, that we are now lower than, and I don't in any way want to say anything disparaging about Cleveland, but there used to be one of the things that our Columbus City Schools, no, that used to always be that we compared ourselves to what Cleveland was doing. Am I right, Jeff Cabot? And now the tables have turned. So I would just like to respond to that when you have the state superintendent saying that we have the worst urban school district in the state, I think that's something that cannot be ignored, and a sense of urgency is definitely needed.
So let me just very quickly say that charter schools, also community schools, which is what they're known in Ohio law, are public schools. They are public schools. The only difference between a community school and the schools that are run by the Columbus City School District is precisely that fact. You have schools that are run by the school district and public schools that are run independently by nonprofit boards. And the evidence around the country suggests, and frankly the evidence here in Columbus suggests, that just as the school districts, that because the school districts have not been able to produce a high quality school, an excellent school for every child, that these other forms of public schools run independently, run in an innovative manner, are providing excellent educational options for our students. Schools that are simply run differently than the public school, than the school district runs them. And so 1 mil of this levy, 1 mil, is devoted to helping support to support community schools, excellent community schools that provide seats for Columbus City School children. We've seen it with the KIPP schools. We've seen it with the Metro School. I was on the board of a community school. So was Dr. Boyd. We are public school board members, sworn in the same way the school board members are in the Columbus City School District. And this is a strategy for bringing excellent schools to our students. It's not the only answer. It's a small piece of the answer, but it is a piece that we must have in our toolkit here in Columbus so we have excellent schools for every child.
I must stop you now. Response?
You know that's interesting. One of the foundational issues that's a problem that the polls indicate is trust. Now, if you take Dr. Ross's information, what I put on a table with the top 8 high schools in the state of Ohio, given their grades overall, Columbus has the best grade of any high system. I mean, most of them have C's, and that's what Columbus has. Columbus is 20,000 students more than any other school system in the state. So I'd like to talk to Dr. Ross about our school system and what her system says totally. Now, the assumption that you started with, that I assume that Columbus public schools cannot get better, that's not true. Everybody can get better. I think the foundational issue that we are not dealing with in this plan and in any other plan is concentrated poverty and segregation. We're not dealing with that in this plan. We're not talking about it in this plan. Now, I'm sorry, I have a passion for that. I know when it works, how it works, and when things are changed, things work well for people of color, particularly African Americans. I got 20 years of recovering people from the Columbus public schools. So to tell me that I don't know what I'm doing, I do know what I'm doing. If you want to understand the success rate at the institution that Mr. Hightower manages, we're very successful. But it was not because of computers. It was not because of money. It was not because of all the things that they profess. Is we understood the poverty that those young people were in. We understood how to work with them, given how the segregated system had dealt with them.
Can I give you a couple of minutes to respond to the charter school question, please?
Yes. Dr. Fingerhut is absolutely right. I am on the board of a charter school, a proud member. Okay, thank you. I could have swore when you introduced yourself to us here. Well, Mr. Fingerhut. Your mother would be very happy. Yeah. Okay. Well, Mr. Fingerhut and I share the distinction of being on charter board boards. And I'm very proud of that. And charter schools have a place in this community. They are public schools. But here's a question that I just can't rationalize in my head. We're talking about funding high-performing charter community schools. I think that's great. But then we're talking about reforming Columbus Public Schools, building schools, revamping schools, but what students are going to be there if they're going to the charter high-performing schools? And so there's going to be a seepage. Now, they're still part of the public school system, but what this plan has not addressed is the need for consolidating school buildings. We have all of these buildings that are open. Not one word has been mentioned about closing some of these buildings so that those failing schools, we consolidate these buildings. Maybe some of those students will go to community schools, and we will spend the money more wisely. But that hasn't been done. Folks, I could sit up here all week long and identify gap after gap after gap in this plan because the strategic part of the plan is absent. It's void. And if any of my students brought this kind of plan to me, they would receive a failing grade because it doesn't provide a pathway. It doesn't provide how we will be able to determine success.
I need to get one more question in for each side, and then we'll be going to the audience for questions. So please write up your questions, and they will be collected. There's an elephant in the room, and it's the data scrubbing scandal. And nobody has addressed it or talked about it. How do you believe it will affect the vote?
So, Carol, I'm really glad you brought it up because I actually was going to do so because our distinguished opponents here have talked a number of times about a lack of trust in the community. And they're right. They are right. Unfortunately, their target is misplaced. The lack of trust is not in the people trying to solve the problem. The lack of trust is in the people who created the problem. And I understand why the community would ask hard questions about how it's possible for us to implement the kinds of comprehensive, radical in the scope of their reach solutions so soon after this really terrible scandal that has eroded the trust that we have in our school district. And I think that is the core of the trust issue. And here's how I think about it. And I'm just one person, but I've been deeply involved in the analysis of the situation and in the development of the solutions, which, again, obviously I don't agree with Dr. Boyd's characterizations or the grades that he's given them, but I'll let you judge that for yourself. We're not going to debate that. Here, read the report, look at the details of the levy, and decide for yourself whether you agree with Dr. Boyd's grade or whether you agree with my grade. But here's where I come down on this question of trust. You know, this is a pretty remarkable community. This is a community that when it sees a problem, it tackles a problem. And it builds a future. And so this community, led by Mayor Coleman and the civic and business leadership, saw that we were in crisis. And we could have waited. The leadership of this community could have waited for every last element of the investigation to be concluded, and every last detail of the investigations and reports that are going to come out to find their way through. And for Dr. Good and his extraordinary leadership to solve every last problem of it, even though the plan he's put in place, we know the state auditor, an independent auditor, has set as a model for how this situation should be dealt with.
I have to cut you off. I have to cut you off. I'm sorry. Response, please.
charter schools across the state have 87% of them receiving D's or F's. So you want to take us from what you've described as a bad situation and put us in one that appears that the data says is not substantially any better. The truth is, you're absolutely right. Bill Bush in his article wrote, cheaters, charters are the two issues that why people will not support this levy. Cheaters or charters. Whether that situation is right or wrong, that's how they see it. Now, some kids young people I had in the room the other day, they told me it's the suits and the downtowners who are directing this plan, and that they don't feel that they've ever been involved with it, nor do their families. That is another trust issue. When the Columbus Dispatch reports who has put up so much money for these levies, and the Wolves have never given any money to the Columbus school levy, to my knowledge. So there are lots of questions in the barber shops and in the beauty shops and in the churches and people on the corner. They see a different world. They see what the polls reflect. Trust is the most essential issue in a levy. And if the House is divided on how to solve that problem, the levy will perish. The House is divided on how to solve this problem, and the House is not sure of the people who are in control and how they are doing it, and will it, in the ultimate essence, benefit our kids. Now, I'm going to close with that. I got skin in the game. This is not an intellectual argument. I have grandkids in the Columbus Public School, so it's not something that I do willy-nilly, taking this position. I think what we are treading on is destroying our school system in the name of transformation.
I need to stop you here because we're on a tight time schedule, and you get to go first with 2 minutes of summation, and then you won the closing argument, so to speak. 2 minutes to close and summarize, please.
Okay. Does anybody have a match? Because that's exactly what this plan is asking us to do, is burn money. What we need in this plan is clear objectives, the activities to be delivered, quality standards, desired outcomes, staffing and resource requirements, implementation timetables, and a process for monitoring the progress. We have none of that in this plan that provides inspirational goals. Again, I don't argue against the goals. I think that they are excellent goals. I just want to know how we're going to get there. As a board member of two separate boards and having the honor of leading a board, I'm very proud of some of our accomplishments. But I'm equally embarrassed of the deficiency that I experienced personally and collectively as a board member when I did not demand the due diligence of the administration to lay before us the path of how they were going to meet and achieve these initiatives. And I'm just frankly saying, let's not make that same mistake again.
I need to stop you. Thank you. Summary, please.
So the House isn't divided. The House is having a discussion. That's what elections are about. We have a conversation with each other in the community, and then we make a decision. And in this case, the decision is the one that I think we've pretty clearly framed on both sides. One side says, wait, talk some more, let's keep discussing the issues that are facing us. And the other side, the side that is led by our mayor, in whom I have tremendous confidence, our civic leaders, our business community, and thank goodness we have a business community that stays and tries to change things and doesn't leave. I travel the country in my job, and I see city after city where the business community throws up their hands and leaves, instead of saying, how do we build a school system and a community that provides opportunity for all and helps lift up the community. So really, that's the choice. And I will tell you that Mayor Coleman, for whom I had the privilege of serving as a special assistant on education this last year, and I think I was involved in every single conversation, briefing and discussion that occurred has said we cannot wait, and we will not wait. Do we know every answer to every question? Perhaps not. Can you poke holes in a 100-page comprehensive plan and document and sit back and and be proud of yourself because you did so? Sure, you can do that. But we have a mayor, we have a community that says we're going to act now. We're not going to lose another year of kids. We're not going to lose another generation of kids. This community is going to act. We know what works. Poverty is no excuse. We've heard it twice, and you'll hear it twice from me. Poverty is no excuse. Every child can succeed if they're given the opportunities. This levy provides the excellent opportunities to replicate our high-performing schools, to bring in the top leadership that we need school by school, to welcome innovative other schools, to provide students with the preschool education they need, the technology they need to work in today's economy, and to bring the human services community together to support their broader needs. That is a comprehensive plan. That's the plan that our mayor has put before us, has challenged us on, and now I think it's our time for this community to say, yes, we want to move now. We're going to support this plan, we're going to stand together, and we're going to make this a better community for all of our kids.
I have to stop you now. Now the time has come for the Columbus Metropolitan Club's tradition to take audience questions. We've asked for written questions. They've been vetted by members of CMC's program committee for quality and fairness. Both sides will have a chance to address each question. Everything else remains the same as has been written for me. I am in charge. Please state your name and ask your question.
Ann Loader with Loader Landscaping. While many people may agree with the findings of the Mayor's Commission, the board did not. How will another 24% increase change their minds and make them follow the community's wishes?
Look, one of the elements of the work that we've not of the plan that we've not talked about is really half of what the voters are going to decide, and that is the creation of the independent auditor, which is a model that we know has successfully worked in Columbus. Look, here's many of you know I had the privilege of serving in the state legislature for many years. I'm a fan of American government and civics, and we always believe in a system of checks and balances. We understand that it's important that there be folks looking over each other's shoulders, and frankly, that's one of the things that has been missing in this equation for so many years. The mayor, the council president, and the council may think a bond issue or a tax issue or a budget is good, but if our city auditor, if our independent city auditor doesn't agree, there's a second set of eyes on it. The creation, we asked the voters to give us the opportunity to create the office of the independent auditor, create that kind of checks and balances so that we can keep each other accountable, keep each other honest into the future, and so that those who have doubts about whether the particular school board or other leaders will follow this plan have an opportunity to have that independent voice.
Please respond to the audience question.
Here is the conundrum, as I see it. The only independent auditor is elected by the people. When you're elected by the people, you are then independent until that next election. This auditor is not independent. He or she is now controlled by what has been described as the new school board, the phantom school board, which consists of the mayor, president of school board, the auditor, a judge, the composition. Now, they were never elected to do things about education, but they will be managing this independent auditor. The conundrum is the community can see that. And the other part of the conundrum is that's a question of trust. Why do we need another school board? Why do we need another auditor? The school board has an auditor. The school board has members who are elected every 4 years. Why are we adding another layer? And then that goes to the heart of the problem. They have vilified this school board. But records have shown recently they did a better job than they thought.
I'm going to stop you here. Next, we're going to the next question, please.
Thank you. I'm Lori Overmeyer. I'm with Gettler Associates. Each week, approximately 50 infants and young children in Franklin County are evaluated for potential developmental delays. How will a positive vote for this levy support the growth of this population that is most in need, and what are the ramifications for children with special needs should this levy fail?
Response?
I thought it was their spot.
You want, okay, we'll start there.
Sure. I don't know if most of you know, but Columbus City Schools already services a large population of special needs children. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people come back to Columbus City School District, because we do such a phenomenal job in this area. And we've had wonderful administrators that have been able to make sure that those individuals with special needs are actually serviced. I think that with this levy, again, being able, I don't have the numbers, and please, Dr. Good, you and your staff can even talk about the numbers, but the costs are astronomical when you start talking about those children with special needs. Being able to have this levy in place will give Dr. Good and the administration the ability to continue to serve our special needs populations in a way that they deserve.
I'm not sure, Mr. Fingerhut, in that plan that you have, does that plan speak specifically to that population? So consequently, they don't know what they're going to do for these particular population of children if the levy passes. They have no idea because they haven't looked at it. If it doesn't pass, I have to assume that the school district will do what it has always done, continue to implement an outstanding program for these students. But this plan doesn't speak to that. I wonder why.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Gus Dahlberg. I'm an attorney with Babbitt & Weiss, and I'm the co-chair of Clintonville Go Public. My question's really to start with Dr. Boyd and Mr. Gresham. Assuming that the public agrees with you and votes down the levy at the election, what happens on November 6th? Is this the end? If, as Ms. Hightower has suggested, the state superintendent has characterized the Columbus district as the worst district in the state, what's the likelihood that the state is going to step in and start taking charge?
I believe this is a transformational spot. All right. If this portion, if this idea wins, they lose. If they win, they lose, because now they have to do what they said they were going to do, and we think that's very difficult to do. All right. There are people coalescing across this city, across incomes, across race, across a variety of spectrums, who are asking themselves the same question. Some have gathered, and some have said, the fundamental question is, what's the next step? And we believe that collectively, this city should define the next step, that we should set up 8 commissions across the city that have involvement, or people want to be involved with the school system, where people have something to give to the school system. Take us through a 12-month process of working with these commissions, working with the school board, working with corporate America, finding those things and destroying one thing that is hurting us right now in our community. That's trust. We don't trust one another over this subject and how it's been built. We have to build trust. We have to bring people together who are traditionally not there and give them a chance to say something.
I need to stop you here and get this side.
You know, I had the privilege of leading the commission that has been so robustly criticized on the other side. And the interesting thing about it is it was broadly representative of the community, with many people who disagreed about many issues when we started. And I would say, honestly, and I see some members of the commission here today, that there was a lack of trust when we started. There really was. In fact, go back and read some of the press articles. Commission members saying, is there really some backroom deal? All the things you're hearing today, it's all the same stuff. But you know what happened? What happened to those 25 people as we sat there and we listened to experts from around the country and we listened to our experts here in our own community, and we have many educational experts here in our community, is we began to understand that this problem was real, that we were failing our kids, we were failing our community. And so the trust came from a common commitment to do something and do something now and do something real and do something substantial. So I know that there will be people who, until they see the full record and see the results, will have a lack of trust. But I will tell you that this group came together and overcame trust, and I am absolutely confident that this community is going to come together and overcome the mistrust too, and get behind this strategy for saving our community and improving the lives of every single child. And I want to say one last thing, and that is that the comment was made that, you know, we put this plan together, the leadership has put this plan together, and so we've got to deliver. I absolutely accept that challenge.
Thank you.
And I believe that everybody else who's been working on this accepts and will hold themselves accountable for the results.
Last question.
Hi, my name is Laura Bidwa. I'm a Columbus resident. I'll be paying these taxes, and I also live in a very high poverty neighborhood where the families really do depend on the Columbus Public Schools. If the Reform Commission found the problem of the schools so urgent, my question is, why does it make sense to increase taxes significantly and give that money to the same system instead of fielding candidates to the school board to do the real work to change this failed system? Because one of my greatest disappointments about this levy is how it has buried discussion of the school board candidates who are actually running in this election.
I think is it our turn to start? I'm sorry.
Yes, your turn to start.
I thought you had the last two.
Go for it.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question, and I think it's a very good question for a number of reasons. I've dwelled on three issues: concentrated poverty, segregation, and trust. If you want to remember anything about my presentation, that's what it is. School levies don't pass if there is no trust. The community that you spoke of, that you were in, I understand that concentrated poverty and how to deal with it. The school board in itself has questions about its leadership. And it's a difficult time, as Bill Bush said, cheaters and charters, and the largest increase in the millage in the history of this county, in the school system. Now, people who don't have kids in the school system walk up to me and say, why would I give that amount of money to the chaos that's occurring down at the school building? Why would I do that? So I understand your reluctance. I understand. But somehow, and I believe it's possible in Columbus, we got to build that spirit of trust. We got to build that spirit of cooperation. We got to build that we can make this happen. And I think if there's any large urban city in the United States that can do this and make our public schools the shining jewel that we want it to be, to make our public schools so our kids, and I'm not necessarily want them to work for nobody, I want them to realize whatever their dream is, whatever that is, owning their own business. If it's working for somebody, fine. But talk about the spirits of my kids. They are not robots, they are not commodities, they are human beings. And my final point is, the real impact, you can talk about outcome, output, but the real impact of that student is someday 30 years down or 25 years down the road when they make a serious contribution. And there's no way you can measure that now.
Thank you.
I agree with everything. Let's start right now, though. Let's not start another process that's going to take us 3 years before we get to any outcome. Look, the issue of the school board is critically important, and the question is really well placed. And let's be really honest with each other and open. There was a discussion, an open discussion in the commission about whether or not we should change the makeup of the school board and the way the school board is selected. And the mayor said very clearly, against many people who urged him to the contrary, because I was there, that it is up to the people of the city of Columbus to select their school board members and to determine whether they want to make change. They'll have that opportunity this fall. They'll have that opportunity 2 years from now. They'll have the opportunity 2 years from that. That's how the system works. The mayor believes in it. That's how he was selected, and that's how the council was selected, and that's how this community will decide whether the school board leadership is the right leadership. But there are steps in this of issues before the voters that will restore the trust. Number one is the independent auditor, about which I've already spoken, who is not managed but selected by other elected officials in this community who are accountable to the community. The second thing is the public leadership that has been shown in this community is extraordinary. Yes, we had a bad scandal in this school district, but we have tackled it. We have Dr. Good, who is changing the work of the schools every day. Public confidence is being restored every single day, thankfully, because our mayor and the civic leadership of this community did step up and say this is unacceptable, and are, frankly, already being held accountable for the individuals that they helped select, the school board, and the partnership that Dr. Good and the mayor and others have forged to make change happen. So there is a conversation about trust in this community. There's no question. And you know what? Would this be an easier election campaign if we waited a year so that the trust could build further? But we need to move now. We need to move now. And the trust is there, and the leadership is there.
I have to stop you now. I want to thank you on my behalf, and Mike Thompson comes back to have a few words.
I hope you enjoyed today's forum. Remember, the conversation continues in the lobby with coffee and cookies. Also, this has been videotaped and will appear on the CMC website and on YouTube. Please share it with the folks who couldn't be here so they can learn more about this issue. Thank our sponsors, the Ohio Farm Federation and Hannah News Service, as well as our speakers, Stephanie Hightower, Eric Fingerhut, Sam Gresham, and Terry Boyd. And, of course, Carol Luper. Thanks very much, and have a good afternoon.